Adiutorium nostrum in nomine Domini. Apocalypse chapter 8, verse 9. Verse 8, rather. Read verse 7 and 8, please. Who's got it? First one ready?
I got it.
Go.
And the first angel sounded the trumpet, and there followed hail and fire, mingled with blood, and it was cast on the earth. And the third part of the earth was burnt up, and the third part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up.
So we saw what that meant. Hail is violent persecution on the Jews who converted after the apostles' preaching. The fire and blood is the charity of the early Catholics mixed with blood. You know, St. Stephen forgiving. And then the burning up, that is the trees are the clerics and priests. Green grass is the sinners. So now verse 8.
And the second angel sounded the trumpet, and as it were a great mountain, burning with fire, was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood.
Verse 8. Second angel sounded the trumpet. The great mountain burning with fire is the apostles preaching to the Gentiles over the earth.
What is that?
The second angel sounding the trumpet is the apostles preaching to the Gentiles over the earth. And the fiery mountain, and as there were a great mountain burning with fire, what's that mountain? It is the devil casting himself at the apostles' preaching. So the mountain of the devil's fiery mountain, doing all he can to stop the apostles' preaching. And you just look at it where the apostles went first. Northern Africa, right? Syria, Jerusalem, Persia, which would be modern day Iraq, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia. That's where all the apostles went. So the devil, he rose up many heresies in these areas, and then he had his big revenge in the 600s. With what?
Protestantism.
600s?
No. Oh, 600.
Islam, Mohammedanism, would be the revenge of the devil on the apostles, because all these regions will be violently taken into the Muslim infidelity. And then he was cast into the sea. A great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea. What's this? The sea is the Gentiles, agitated by the world, flesh, and the devil. Some convert, some remain indifferent. Some Gentiles convert, some really don't care. And the third part of the sea became blood. That is, became persecutors. The third part of the sea, that is, the Gentiles became persecutors. So when the emperor declared death to the Christians, it wasn't just the army hunting down people, but just like during COVID, people were calling up the police. Our neighbors are having mass across the street. There's cars parked in front of the church. There's cars parked in front of this traditional chapel. You should check it out. There's too many gathered here. So a lot of snitchers, right? And in the English persecution in England, tons of snitchers. You know, you're starry-eyed do-gooder. The so-called virtuous guy who calls the police on their neighbors having a gathering. So this kind of stuff was going on. In these days, snitchers. So many became persecutors of the Catholic people. Verse 9, Tony, and the third part.
And the third part of those creatures died, which had life in the sea, and the third part of the ships was destroyed.
The third part of the ships, what's this? That is, the third part of those creatures died. What is the creatures? The creatures are the rational creatures. Romans 1:20, by the things made known by the Creator. They are inexcusable. You can know God's creation through His works. That's Romans 1:20. That's the famous quote against evolution. Romans 1:20. For the invisible things of Him, from the creation of the world, are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. His eternal power also and divinity, so that they are inexcusable. So they're inexcusable who deny God's existence just by looking at creation. So rational creatures, the third part of men who behaved as though they have souls, that is, well behaved, a third perish. Some of them converted by the apostles, like the eunuch and St. Philip. Some convert almost naturally, and a third refuse, such as the Athenians who refused St. Paul and followed the Jews of the synagogue. And the ships, what is this? And the third part of the ships was destroyed. The ships are leaders, principes. The leaders of these, some of the leaders convert, some are tolerant, and a third are damned, rejecting Christ. So you get a mix among the laity, you get a mix among leaders. And there's always that third amount that just totally reject the faith. Verse 10, Guadalupe.
And the third angel sounded the trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, burning as it were a torch. And it fell on the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters.
Okay, so it's a lot of imagery here. And what does it all mean? Well, here's one commentary. Verse 10, and the third angel, that is the star that fell burning on the great star, the third angel, sounding the trumpet, is the great Catholic doctors of the 4th and 5th century, who we call fathers of the church. The great Catholic doctors, this is the third angel sounding the trumpet, blowing the trumpet of the Catholic faith. So name some of these great doctors of the church from the 4th and 5th century.
St. Augustine.
Yes.
St. Ambrose.
Yes.
St. Basil.
Yes. St. John Chrysostom? Yes.
St. Jerome.
St.
Yes.
Gregory Nazianzen.
Yes. St. Leo the Great. St. Gregory the Great. St. Hilary of Poitiers.
St. Irenaeus.
He's earlier, but he's certainly one of the fathers.
St. Cyril of Jerusalem.
Yes. There's another one. Well, you got the gist. And the star that fell, what's the star that fell from the heaven? Is the heresiarchs, leaders of heresies, burning not like serene stars, but like smoky torches, clouds and chokes, and blind souls. Like a smoky torch that clouds and chokes. So are these heresiarchs spreading the dark smoke of their heresies. So the third trumpet sounding is the great fathers of the church defending against heresies. And then a great star that fell from heaven, burning as it were a torch, and it fell on the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. What's this? Here, Bishop Williamson says, hatred of heresy is healthy. Hatred of heresy is healthy. That's a healthy sign. Like a healthy body has an immune system that fights. It's too bad he didn't stick to this when it came to the new Mass. Tolerance of heresy is unhealthy. So hatred of heresy is healthy. Tolerance of heresy is unhealthy. Think of Father Curran, Father Hans Kung. They all have smooth tongues. Or Father James Martin now, that poor unfortunate blackguard. They have smooth tongues. And the star fell in, and it fell on the third part of the rivers. What's this? The first part of the river is the Old Testament. The second part of the river is the New Testament. The third part is patrology. What's patrology, anybody?
The study of the fathers?
Yes. The fathers of the church. So the rivers have three parts: Old Testament, New Testament, third part, patrology. The heresies fouled up the scriptures, and they even quote the scriptures. Arius, who quoted the fathers greater than I to support his heresy. Heretics crash into tradition. Heretics crash into tradition by taking the very words of Scripture and misinterpreting them. And upon the fountains of water, what's the springs or fountains? That is, the springs of Catholic piety are poisoned by heretics. The springs of Catholic piety are poisoned by heretics. So many of the Arians or the Manichaeans who denied that matter is good, denied that the body is good. They said all visible things are evil because they come from the devil, who created all visible things, and all invisible things are good. The spiritual things come from God, the good God. So how will they treat the Holy Eucharist? If all matter is evil, how are they going to treat the Holy Eucharist?
With their reverence. Because it's, well,
Yeah, that's being kind. Yeah, with their reverence. And that's being very kind. They're going to commit sacrilege after sacrilege. And one of the Arians, in the description of William Thomas Walsh, you should remember, they broke into some of the Catholic churches and desecrated the Holy Eucharist. Right? So heretics poisons the Catholic devotions. And today it's the luminous mysteries, just trying to cause confusion. Okay. Verse 11, Andres.
And the name of the star is called Wormwood.
And what's the star again?
The great star that fell from heaven.
Leaders of heretics.
Yeah, leaders of heretics. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's called wormwood. Go on.
And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
The name of the star is wormwood, which is absinthe, a bitter plant. Absinthe, which is a bitter plant, because heresy is bitter. And the waters became wormwood, poisoned. Many Catholics perished from the poisoning of tradition. And the modernists especially poisoned tradition by saying, well, in the 5th century, this developed this, and that developed this, in the 10th century, this and that. And things evolved, and Immaculate Conception was never really always believed. It just kind of grew up in the Middle Ages, and Pius IX declared it a dogma, but it was never believed in the primitive church. That kind of garbage poisons souls, poisons tradition. Or the freestanding altar, well, it was done in the 5th century, and we're just going back to the freestanding altar of all this nonsense. Poisoning tradition. And modernists are very good at this. Modernists even attack the rosary. And they'll say, well, the Muslims have their beads, and Buddhists have their beads, and Catholics, that's just kind of evolved from that. And St. Dominic turned it into the rosary and got a little fantastical, pious fantasy that the Virgin Mary gave him the rosary, but it really didn't happen, and all this nonsense. No, the Virgin Mary gave St. Dominic the 15 mysteries of the rosary, not 20, 15. She gave it to him, and with that weapon he drove out devils, possessed people, freed them, and converted thousands and thousands. And the rosary is still working miracles. But the modernists attack the rosary. They attack the scapular, they attack the Catholic Mass. There's nothing they don't attack. Even the papacy they've attacked. There's nothing they haven't attacked. The Holy Eucharist, the 7 sacraments, right? It's a wholesale attack on the faith. Mm-hmm.
An interesting little connection about the rosary, and I saw this as an argument against the luminous mysteries, is Genesis 3:15 is the quote where it says, I will put enmities between thee and the woman, and thy seed and her seed. She shall crush thy head, and thou shalt lie in wait for her heel. 3:15. There's 3. There's the sorrowful, the glorious, the joyful.
Yeah.
15. I just thought that
15 decades.
that's the one verse in Genesis where it refers to Mary.
That's funny, but it's true.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the devil sees that connection. Whenever he hears the rosary being recited, he's reminded of Genesis 3:15. She's going to crush my head. And she's done it many times, and she's going to do it again. I can't wait. I can't wait until she steps in. And Our Lady, Sister Lucia said, the Pope will do the consecration, but it will be late. It will be late. You can see why these popes are just poison. They're all got wormwood in their system. And they're crashing into tradition, trying to destroy it. They're poisoned, these poor popes and cardinals and bishops. Verse 11, Andres. Oh, okay, we just finished that.
Verse 12.
Yes, verse 12, go ahead.
And the 4th angel sounded the trumpet, and the 3rd part of the sun was smitten, and the 3rd part of the moon, and the 3rd part of the stars, so that the 3rd part of them was darkened, and the day did not shine for a 3rd part of it, and the night in like manner.
Okay, so from what you know of catechism and the knowledge of the faith, what do you think the 3rd part of the sun being smitten is, and the moon, and the stars?
The doctrine of the church?
Good guess.
The stars, bishops.
Very good guess.
The moon, the church.
Good guess. Yeah. Well, let's see what the fathers say, because Bishop Williamson drew a lot of this from the fathers of the church. For the 4th angel that blows the trumpet is Catholic doctors from the 5th century onwards. So that's from the 400s onwards. So doctors from the 400s. That would certainly be St. Jerome. He's in that era. St. Gregory the Great. St. Gregory the Great died in 611. The 4 Latin church doctors, St. Augustine, St. Jerome, St. Ambrose, St. Gregory. This is certainly their time for sure. A third part of the sun, moon, and stars, that is, prelates and priests, appointed to feed the flock. The sun, moon, and stars are the prelates, bishops, pope, bishops, priests, appointed to feed the flock. Some, the first part, sanctify themselves and others. The second part of the pope, bishops, and priests sanctify others only. Third part sanctify neither themselves nor others. They fade out when confronted by the doctor's teachings. Interesting aspect. So popes, bishops, priests, the first part sanctify themselves and others, that's the best. Second part, sanctify only others, that's activism. Third part, neither sanctify themselves nor others. They fade out when confronted by doctor's teachings. With the result that the Catholic flock is led by the third part, had light neither for good works by day nor for faith by night. With the result that the Catholic flock, led by the third part of bishops, priests, and pope, had light neither for good works by day nor for faith by night. So faith and good works. In the Middle Ages, as the great doctors, like St. Bernard, taught the clergy, fell into one of these three categories. The day the flocks were lacking light from bad clergy. So, anyway, that's that explanation. But I know Father Kramer, who writes the Book of Destiny on the Apocalypse. Father Kramer, not Father Paul Kramer, but an older one from the 30s or 40s. He goes into detail that it's the third part of the moon. The sun is the church, the moon is the bishops, and the stars that fall are the bishops. That's what he says. The bishops of the Catholic Church who will fall from the faith. And we're living that today for sure. Verse 13, yes?
Sorry, Father, but were you expecting anyone? Because
Yes.
Someone did drive in a little while ago.
Yes. Yeah, it's the architect regarding the convent. So, yeah, Anthony, when you hear the knock, go answer and tell him I'll be right there. I told him 3:45, so. All right, verse 13. And I beheld and heard the voice of one eagle flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the rest of the voices of the three angels who are yet to sound the trumpet. So this is the preamble to the terrible events at the end of the world. The voice of the eagle crying, Woe, woe, is those penetrating deep into God's mysteries. And flying through the midst of the heaven, the eagle flying through the midst of heaven, or the skies, they fly above the earthly concerns. Woe to the earth dwellers, essential, especially those attached to the world. Woe to them who are chained to earthly concerns. So, So, souls that will save their souls are those who fly above earthly concerns. And those who are going to go through the woes are those who are too attached to this world. Okay, chapter 9. Locusts come forth from the bottomless pit, the vision of the army of horsemen. Read verse 1. Anthony?
And the fifth angel sounded the trumpet, and I saw a star fall from heaven upon the earth, and there was given to him the key of the bottomless pit.
All right, what is this fifth angel? It is preachers against heretics who precede the Antichrist. So this fifth angel are preachers against heretics who precede the Antichrist. Liberalism and Protestantism built up mankind to be prepared for the Antichrist. And we could certainly say the new Mass has prepared Catholics for the Antichrist by this false ecumenism. And the star, and I saw a star fall from heaven upon the earth. What's the star fallen from heaven? It is the devil who fell before the world. Luke 10:18. The devil who fell before the world's creation. That's Luke 10:18. And he said to them, I saw Satan like lightning falling from heaven. So this is Christ speaking. I saw Satan like lightning falling from heaven. That's Luke 10:18. And there was given him the key to the abyss.
Did you already say who the fifth angel was?
Yeah, preachers against the heretics who precede the Antichrist. All right, and then we have the commentary in the Douay Rheims. Look at that. So read your commentary on the bottom, chapter 9, verse 1, please. Do you have it?
Yes, fine. A star fall. This may mean the fall and apostasy of great and learned men from the true faith, or a whole nation falling into error and separating from the church, not having the sign of God in their foreheads. The key of the bottomless pit, that is, to the angel, not to the fallen star. To this angel was given the power, which is here signified by a key of opening hell.
Yes. So the key is the power given to the angel. Verse 2, read on, Michael.
And I saw 7 angels
Uh,
standing,
Verse 2 of chapter 9.
and he opened the bottomless pit, and the smoke of the pit arose as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened with the smoke of the pit.
Okay, this is the reference made by Pope Gregory the 16th in Mirari Vos. In the encyclical Mirari Vos, Pope Gregory the 16th says in 1832, are we not living now in the time when the bottomless pit is open and smoke fills the earth with the poison of indifferentism? Indifferentism, that all religions are just as good as another. And Pope Leo XIV just came out with another scandal saying something like, no religion can claim to have the fullness of the truth. Which is just such a mockery to Christ, a kick in his teeth. And he opened the bottomless pit, and the smoke of the pit arose. That is, the devil opened up the sewer of heresies in the last 50 years, for sure. Smoke arose, that is, blinding and suffocating heresy, which Gregory the 16th calls especially indifferentism. As a great furnace, the smoke of a great furnace, like the Antichrist himself. And the sun was darkened, and the air was darkened. The sun is Christ. The sun and the air were darkened with the smoke of the pit. That is, the sun is Christ, and the air is the faith. Darkened by the media today, says Bishop Williamson, back in his best days. By the media today. And again, the movies, the talk shows, the humor is always, most often, attacking Christ or the church or the priests or the nuns. So propaganda always. Verse 3. Tony, and
from the smoke of the pit there came out locusts upon the earth, and power was given to them, as the scorpions of the earth have power.
okay, well, this is a very lively image. So what do you picture? Locusts coming out from the pit of the earth. Locusts. And he's going to describe what they look like. Wait till that comes. Verse 3, locusts, the many disciples of the heretics. The locusts are the many disciples of the heretics, especially modernists. Now they're everywhere. Modernist bishops, priests, popes, you name it. Very few really have the full faith, integral faith. Imitates flying by hops. So they imitate the truth by not flying like a bird, but hopping. So they pretend to fly. They're ugly and hops back to the earth. So heretics always come back to the earth. They're not free to fly, but they imitate flying by their grotesque hopping. And power was given to the scorpions. Power was given to these locusts as the scorpions of the earth have power. That is, they approach smoothly, but have a mortal sting. Like the locusts are like the scorpion. They approach quietly and smoothly. They look like they might not do harm, and then they swing their tail and sting. So, the Bible comes from God, is the Word of God. It all sounds good, right? And St. John wrote this gospel, but we can't be sure it was St. John. And we can't really be sure that Christ really worked a physical miracle of feeding the thousands, the 4,000 and the 5,000. But rather, and here's the sting, it was the spiritual reflections of the apostles, that our Lord preaching peace and love, it spread through everybody like food that was multiplied. That's what they do. So their smooth words have a mortal sting of heresy and error.
Yeah, that's why the apostles were willing to get martyred, because of their reflections.
Right. Yeah, it's just St. Peter. I mean, if anyone is down to earth, it's St. Peter, St. James, John, the fishermen. And they were all down to earth, but the fishermen wouldn't be wasting their time with some spiritual reflections. Yeah, you're right. Verse 4, Andres. Verse 4.
Chapter 9.
And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, nor any green thing, nor any tree, but only the men who have not the sign of God on their foreheads.
So what is this? They're ordered not to harm the grass, plants, and trees. What is this? What does this all mean? The grass are those beginning the spiritual life. Plants are those more advanced. Trees are those who are perfect in the spiritual life. So don't harm the grass, plants, and trees, those beginning, advanced, and perfect in the spiritual life. Don't harm them, but only men lacking the sign of God on their forehead. That is the sign of Jesus Christ. which cannot but be the sign of the
Cross.
verse 5. Verse 5, Anthony?
And it was given unto them that they should not kill them, but that they should torment them 5 months. And the torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man.
So what's it like to be stung by a scorpion? Has anybody ever?
Gabriel's been pinched by one.
I've been pinched.
Okay, but I've heard people who survived the sting of scorpions. It feels like a wasp bite, they say. Stings. Really stings. And some scorpions kill.
Yeah, there's the huge black scorpion of South America.
In Colombia.
It's like about that.
What,
Yeah,
7 inches long?
About 7 inches long and about maybe 2 inches wide at the widest, with the legs included.
Right.
And the stinger is impressive. Yeah, it's impressive. They have small pincers, but small pincers, bigger stinger. So.
Wow. Yeah. So the torment of a scorpion when he strikes a man is like the torment of these locusts. So what does this mean? The time of the 5th trumpet is the time leading to the Antichrist. We saw that. Verse 5, do not kill, torment them for 5 months. The 5 months are all the 5 ages of human life in the sublunary world under the moon, meaning changing like the moon. So the 5 ages of human life. So what is this again now? But then they should torment them for 5 months. That is the 5 months, that is the moon. That all under the moon changes. The moon is always changing. So the 5 stages of human life. Infancy, childhood, adolescence, manhood, senility. Senility meaning from Latin senex, old age, not senile in the sense of modern words. So infancy, childhood, adolescence, manhood, old age. What heretics may do to the just. Verse 6. And in those days men shall seek death and shall not find it, and they shall desire to die, and death shall fly from them. They will seek death. What does this mean? Death already coming. For the just, life is becoming unpleasant. They desire death, desire as a way out of torments. But death will fly from them. God will make the trial last as long as He wills. God will make trials last as long as He wills. It's when it's getting tough. Okay, that's about all he says. Read verse 3 in the footnotes, Guadalupe, in the footnote of the actual Douay-Rheims here. Go ahead.
Oh,
We don't have one in this one.
the verse 3 of chapter 9, Father?
Yes.
There came out locusts. These may be devils in Antichrist's time, having the appearance of locusts, but large and monstrous, as here described. Or they may be real locusts, but of an extraordinary size and monstrous shape, such as were never before seen on earth, sent to torment those who have not the sign or seal of God on their foreheads. Some commentators by these locusts understand heretics, and especially those heretics that sprung from Jews, and with them deny the divinity of Jesus Christ. As Diodotus, Praxeas, Netus, Paulus Samasota, Sabellius, Arius, etc. These were great enemies of the Christian religion. They tormented and infected the souls of men, stinging them like scorpions with the poison of their heresies. Others have explained these locusts and other animals mentioned in different places throughout this sacred and mystical book in a most absurd, fanciful, and ridiculous manner. They make Abaddon the Pope and the locusts to be friars mendicant, etc.
Mendicants are beggars, like Franciscans, and etc.
Here it is thought proper not to enter into any controversy upon that subject, as the adventures of these fancies have been already answered and fully refuted by many controversies.
By controvertists.
Besides, those who might be imposed on by such
Chimerical.
writers are in these days much better informed.
Okay, next week we'll look into what these locusts look like. They look like modernist clergy. Agitorium nostrum in nomine Domini.